Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knife Center, and welcome to Knife AQ episode 153, the knife series, where I answer all your questions, sharp or dull. This week, we're looking back at some of the things from 2023 and asking, is 2024 going to be better? Let's find out.
In a year.
Yeah. All right, folks, if you're new to this series, we take your questions in the comments section below these videos. We comb through, pick out a few to feature in future episodes. So if you have a question and think it just might be worthy of inclusion in a future episode, please drop it down below. Thank you. First question today comes from MyVids3115. Hi, DCA, Thomas, and crew. Thomas is the crew.
Can be referred to as two people, that's fine.
Split personality disorder. Well, the broader crew here at the Knife Center. I'll pass along your hi. Thank you. In the spirit of missed once, or measured once, cut twice, is there anything from 2023 you felt had potential, but was cut short and therefore should go back to the drawing board to come back really strong in 2024? I kind of had a hard time coming up with anything that would seem controversial on this one. Because yeah, I'm sure there were definitely some misses out there in 2023, but there were so many other good things too, and that's just the broad spectrum of product development. Nothing really felt like a dud just on the face of it. Things just didn't hit. What I would like to see though are two. This was kind of the easy first answer I thought of. Two of my favorite budget knives from the past year: the Kershaw Heist and the Kaiser Amicus. I've talked about these knives a lot. We just featured this Amicus in the top 5 purchases of the year for me and Seth. You can watch that video if you like. It was just last week, actually. There's between these, only 3 different variants out there. There's one Heist and there's 2 Amicizes. Got one?
Nope.
Okay. There's only 2 of these. I would love to see more variety on these. More options out there. More options are always good. But that's not really a good answer to your question. So I went a little bit deeper, and there is something I would like to see Leatherman do now that the Arc is out and has been so successful. I'm a big fan of this multi-tool. I would love to see them, this is kind of a revisiting of the Free series, or an updating of the Free series to arrive at the Arc. I would love to see them take things that they did to the Arc, potential new design improvements there, and go back to the Free K series. Especially this, the K4, I believe it is, right here. Normally it's about $100. I would love to see this kind of tweaked. It's a really cool tool. You've got a main blade, 3.3 inches. It's only 420 HC. It'd be cool to see the MagnaCut make the jump over onto this. It's got some tools here in the back. Let me close that. Accessible right from the rear. These, if you don't need pliers or don't want pliers, this has a lot of the great functionality of a full-size multi-tool. But for me, the handle comfort of it, while not necessarily bad, has never been quite comfy enough for me to consider it as a full everyday carry primary knife replacement. I think there could be improvements here. Tweak the shape a little bit, maybe bring some tools over from the Free series, the Arc, like the interchangeable bit driver would be cool. The MagnaCut would be really sweet. I think the K4 and K2 and K4 really deserve a shot in the arm. They're fine, but yeah, I think they could be better. That's what I'd like to see. Read into that how you will. All right, next question comes from Tech Zach. Hey DCA, thanks for addressing my question last week. Really helped me out a lot. Which one was that?
I don't know.
I don't know when I saved this question, so I don't know when last week was anymore. I'm glad it was helpful. I stand by my advice. I have a new question. Next year, I guess he means this year, because I definitely saved this last year. I will be the best man for a good friend of mine. To celebrate, I'd like to get 2 nice knives and have them engraved to commemorate the occasion. What would you recommend? Something small and of good quality. Not afraid for this project to cost me $100 a knife, but would like to keep that as a cap. I've got a classic answer and a new answer for you. The stainless steel handled Seki Japan made Spydercos have always been a great option here. This one actually, pay no attention to the little plastic covering. We didn't want to take that off here for the video. But a nice, clean front plate on that stainless steel, no pins to get in the way. This is the Dragonfly, about $86 for it right now. That leaves you, what's that? $14 to get it engraved. It might cost you a little bit more there. But the knife itself is definitely under $100. It's a great, small, everyday carry knife. You can get a really poised grip on the knife, brings the tip into a very natural position to point forward, slice open boxes, letters, what have you. Anything small day to day. You've got VG10 steel, full flat grind, and a great, easily carried profile when closed too. A lot of people like this in the 5th pocket as well, which can be pretty cool. Still a fantastic option, but it's kind of like the default option in some ways. So I think, what else is another alternative? The Delica gets a little bit over the $100 mark for this same configuration, so that's not quite going to work. But how about this? The most successful stainless steel handled knife of the last several years, really in quite a long time, the CJRB Pyrite in the stainless steel handled version. Comes in at $49. $50. It's got a stonewashed finish as opposed to a brushed finish like on the Spyderco we just looked at. So it has a little bit of a different vibe, maybe not quite as high class feeling. It's a little more rough and tumble, but I think this would still look great with engraving done either on the handles or the blade. Actually, you could do a lot of engravings on satin finished blades that don't have stainless steel handles. So that opens up way too many options though to cover in just one video. So we're sticking with this one. Great blade, a little bit bigger than the Dragonfly obviously, but it's not a huge knife. It's a 3.1 inch blade, so just under 3 1/8 of an inch. It's slim enough. You've got deep carry pocketability in either side, and you got the button lock, which feels great. Nice action. Great blade for everyday use here too. Very similar to the Spyderco in that it is thin enough. You've got almost a full flat grind here. It's just a great slicer. Great for everyday small to smallish medium tasks as well. And we'll go full on medium. There we go. Check both of those out, and congratulations to your friend. Congratulations on being best man. I've had the privilege of being that twice for a couple of different friends of mine, and it's really cool. It's really special. All right, the next question comes from the Johnny G. Hey DCA, what are your favorite knife innovations from the last few years? This one is, I'm gonna make some people angry here, but I'm not intending to. I would say MagnaCut steel, without a doubt, is an innovation that has changed the industry. It is a stainless steel, but it has the toughness and edge retention of other high-performance tool steels, which is a really impressive combination because you could get the same toughness, the same edge retention, or even higher in some cases, but you could never marry those levels of performance with stainless qualities. That's a game changer. That's a really big deal. Some folks out there I know have said, oh, it doesn't have enough chromium in it to be actually stainless. It's not really a stainless steel. Well, there's never actually been a 100% agreed upon level of how much chromium in a knife steel it takes to qualify something as stainless. There are some people I know that adhere to like it's this percent, but there's other places that say it's a different percentage. The problem with adhering to either of those numbers, however, is it ignores where the chromium is in the blade or in the steel. And a lot of times on those steels, a lot of the chromium is trapped up in the carbides that get into the molecular structure of the steel. So they're not free to do their stain resistant thing. Even though MagnaCut technically has less chromium than some semi-stainless steels out there, most of the chromium is free in the matrix of the steel. So it's out there doing its thing. And if you don't believe MagnaCut is a stainless steel, may I point you to Spyderco's Salt series, where they are bringing MagnaCut into several of the knife models in that series. That series whole reason for existence is to be as stainless as humanly possible. And if Spyderco knows it can do it, it can do it. That's an easy answer as well, though. However, I stand by it. Like, definitely, MagnaCut changed the game. But sometimes innovations don't have to be so game-changing to be interesting. And one of the more kind of subtle innovations of the last couple of years, I really like because it takes something and improves on it. Sometimes, 5% is enough to call something an innovation. But I think this is a really cool thing. With the Free Reign fixed blade, Demko Knives introduced a new sheath. And it's the sheath, I think, is a really cool innovation. And I really do believe that. Here it is. Now, what is the quote-unquote problem or something you can run into with most fiberglass reinforced or glass-filled nylon sheaths out there? Well, the glass fibers or fiberglass in the plastic parts of the sheath are oftentimes harder, typically harder than the steel of the knife blade going into it. So you can actually dull a knife blade if it's inserted improperly or if you're rubbing going in. Most of the time, if you have proper form going in and out, you're never going to have an issue, but it can be an issue. This sheath gets around that. The reason you can't use a non-glass filled nylon for an injection molded sheath is just straight up nylon is not strong enough to do the job, but it's not going to scratch the blade. The two-part construction of this sheath is able to use a nylon center section. So it's not going to scuff well, it could potentially scuff your blade or polish your blade, but it's not going to dull the edge of your blade. And we've got basically structural glass-filled nylon around the edges. It gives the sheath the strength and rigidity it needs to stand up to use. And you also wind up being able to take the whole thing apart to clean it as well, which is an added bonus, but a bit of a byproduct of being able to use the preferred material for the actual, optimal edge conditions overall. I think this is a really darn cool sheath, and I think about it more than I should. But really, it's just a perfect example of, the smart minds we have in the knife industry. Knife designers, engineers working for companies. The definition of progress is, I don't know if it's the actual definition, but seeing something that could be better, or seeing something that not even anyone really thinks about needing to be improved, and then improving it, making it better. And then when you come up with something like this, you show that, hey, this is now a better way of doing that thing. And I think this is a better way of doing that thing. So I think it's pretty cool. All right, now we come to the lightning round for today. First question from Sir Galeth. Hey David, I've been looking at some videos on the Leatherman Arc, and so far, none have addressed the grind on the blade compared to the Free series of blade regarding slicing ability. Can you help me out? Thomas, I require the use of your Leatherman Free for just a moment. Surprise, surprise. So here we go. The main difference between the two is going to be the grind. The Arc has a flat ground blade. The Free has a hollow ground blade. And I've not really gone like too close side by side looking at it other than that. Shape on it. Shape on the blade itself is virtually the same. Thomas has used this a little bit, so the edge is, tip is crept up a little bit. What that's going to mean basically is also the edge itself on Thomas's Free here is thinner as well. You can see we've got a bit of a thicker edge on the MagnaCut blade on this Arc right here. I'd say slicing efficiency, I'd definitely give to the Free series in this case. You're thinner behind the edge. Most of them, I think, tend to have a slightly thinner edge than several of the Arcs I've seen. So that is going to be an advantage there. The edge is certainly not going to last nearly as long. 420HC to MagnaCut is a huge jump in capability right there. So yeah, slicing ability, slicing efficiency, the way it glides through material, I'm definitely going to give it to the Arc here to the Free over the Arc series. Now, that begs the question, is the Arc series blade too thick for everyday use? I would say no. I would prefer it, honestly, a slightly thinner for my personal use, but I wouldn't say it's so thick that it gets to be unusable. I've certainly been using this a little bit. You can see I don't have too many scuffs on my arc blade yet. I need to use it a little bit more. So that would be my take on the two of those. Hope that helps. Thomas, here you go. Thank you, sir. William Wallace asks, Mr. Anderson, do you want to make noise and put that back in your belt? Okay, yeah, no problem. I'll give you a moment. Sorry. A belated Happy New Year to you, sir, and to you. I wanted to present to you the following specs in the hopes that you could pick me out an EDC winner. A sub 3-inch satin or stone washed clip point or drop point blade on washers. Non-auto, non-assisted, deep carry pocket clip, no frame, liner, or axis type locks. Scales that aren't black or gray, under $150. Bonus points if it can also file my taxes. Well, it's not going to file your taxes, but you want...
Because I want to hear about that knife.
Yeah, that would be a great knife, actually. Check out the Buck 112 Slim Ranger Pro TRX. $99.99 for these knives right in here. This meets everything. 3-inch blade, clip point, satin, S30V, nice. Thumb studs, deep carry clip, reversible, washers, no bearings. What else? What else did you say? Not any of the cool locks. Got it. It's a backlock. No, I'm kidding. That amused me anyway. And it's not black or gray. This is green. You can also get it in orange if you want. It's a really cool knife, actually. Bonus points. Can't do your taxes, but how about if I give you one more suggestion as well? The Boker Plus Zinker Urban Trapper Petite backlock version. 2 3/4 blade, VG10, about $90. Backlock, deep carry, very slim. Very two-handed opening, however. That's why I thought this was a really cool one, but if you want the one-hand openability, which you didn't mention, but I'm gonna give it to you anyway with that. So there you go. Hope that helps. All right, now we come to the most serious question of the day, which comes today from Blood Gain. We've had one from him before, haven't we?
Yeah, it's better than blood loss.
That's true. MSQ, I've recently inherited my uncle's old laboratory, including a broken down time machine, and it got me thinking, what knife or knives should a time traveler carry? Thomas actually had his finger on the pulse of this question for sure. It's not about what you take with you, it's about what you bring back. We'll get to that here in a second. But you got to be careful going back in time, especially. You don't want to appear too technologically advanced. You don't want to be out of place and draw attention to yourself. So I don't know if I'd carry any of that. Maybe like the Wii OSS dagger thing, like something you could like weave into your clothing so it's there just in case. But it's about what you bring back. You had a good suggestion here. What knife would you... This is more going to the past thing. If you're going to the future, man, it'd be cool to see... It'd be cool to see what we could steal for the knife industry now to jumpstart the evolution going on. But
buy MagnaCut Hello lightsaber.
You know, if we ever come up with them, it'd be really cool. It'd be really nice.
But go back in the past, get Jim Bowie's knife, so we know what it looked like.
So there are scholars that will tell you what it actually was, but even sometimes then there's disagreement. So that would be cool. My pick would be, if I were to be able to travel to the past and bring any knife forward, I wouldn't, we'd both be going in pretty recent American history, actually. North American history. The original Nessmuck knife. You guys know, it's got to be that for me. Because unlike the original Kephart knife, which there are examples of the Cole Klesser brothers Kepharts still surviving to this day, not very many of them, apart from the illustration that Nessmuck did in his articles, no one really knows exactly what his knife looked like. Like, his knife is lost to time. No one knows. It's not survived. If it has, someone's probably got it. Someone has no idea what they've got. But that would be mine. Like, I'd want to even just glimpse it just for a little bit, and I could die happy. No, maybe not. I like my kid.
You'd be happy for the day.
It'd be really cool. That'd be mine. What about yours? If you folks in the comments could let me know, if you could travel back in history and, bring any knife to today, whether it's, for historical significance or just something you want to use, whatever it is, What's the knife you would bring back from the past? Let us know. That's all we've got for today, folks. Looking forward to 2024, kicking into high gear already. We've got some new product releases coming up very soon. Next week, in fact, I think is the first new big company's drops of the 2024 lineup. So keep an eye out for that. And of course, make sure to keep following us for our SHOT Show coverage later this week, where there will be a bunch of new knife releases. Always an exciting time come January. Anyway, drop your questions in the comments if you've got them. Maybe we'll be able to include it in a future episode. And if you want to get your hands on any of these knives, check out the links in the description to take you to KnifeCenter.com. And don't forget about our long-running Knife Rewards program, because if you're going to spend some money on a knife today, at least you could earn some free money to spend on a future knife, eh? I'm doing that Canadian thing again, with the A.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Sorry. Anyway, I love my Canadian folks up there. Stay warm. It's cold this time of year, I'm sure. That's all we've got for today, folks. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera. See you next time.